All right. Good evening, everyone. Shall we make sure that they can hear me? So I didn't click something off. Are we
No,
good?
you're good. Yes, we can hear
All
you.
right. Great. Great. All right. So welcome. This is kind of becoming a weekly habit here, but we've just been receiving a lot of questions about a lot of different things. And so it just seems like it's easier to kind of hop online and see how we can help you guys out. So tonight we're going to talk about the expo, but it's going to be backwards. We're going to talk about first about credit hour modules, and then we're going to talk about the expo, which is coming up in November. And then we've got some freebies for you here. So Shelby, if you've got the link to this slideshow, could you put it in chat for them? That way they'll have active links. And you may want to refresh it since I sent it to you last, make sure everything is on there. But I've got a couple of little fun freebie for you about make your selfie pop, and then just some anatomy goodies there for you for joining in with us tonight. So, all right. So here we go. What's the difference between, we're going to start with the basics before we get into really talking with you about our recommendations for credit hour. And just know that these sessions are really set up to be collaboration. So obviously, whatever we're saying is not going to necessarily be the be all end all and the only way that things can be done. This is just, if we're speaking with you, this is what we're going to recommend. And then we're happy to answer questions that are specific to your program. So basically, the difference, if you're still on time clock, is that a credit hour school reports only those credits which have been successfully completed by a student. Clock hour schools, you report each month all of the hours that a student have completed. But with credit hour, you don't have to submit them monthly. You can submit them in a way that is organized and seems right for your program, depending on how many hours a student attends a day or a week or a month. Or if you are a dual credit program and you're aligned with the college, it really makes sense to submit your hours like the college would submit their hours, so that, if the student passes the college course, they get the credit. And if they don't pass the college course, they don't. And that's really the main difference, is the way the hours are calculated and submitted. And when I say there's a difference in the way they're calculated, I'm not saying that they're spending less time. It's saying that their competency has to be there in order for them to achieve the credit hours that are attached to the module. This information that I'm sharing with you here, this is directly from TDLR. And so there's a link in here that'll show you where to find this information so you can go back and reference it. And then, like I said, we're sharing the slideshow with you as well. So is a credit hour school required to report credits if the student did not complete the entire module or course? And when are we required to complete the course? So no, credit hour schools only report those credits for the module or course which have been successfully completed by a student. So if a student's not successful in that module, they have not earned the credit for that module. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth and some recommendations that we make in just a little bit. When is a credit hour school required to report credits? Well, that all depends. You have to report them in a timely manner, but it's going to be dependent upon how you set up and organize your modules. And there's several different ways we can work through doing that. So can a credit hour school use a time clock to track student attendance? So this is one of those kind of hotspot issues for me personally, but the correct answer is yes. You can use a time clock to track student attendance and use that for your attendance records. Is a credit hour school required to convert credits to clock hours for students? No, you are not required to convert it back to clock hours for students. The equivalency is 1 credit hour is equal to 37.5 clocked hours. And so this has been the conversion for colleges for a long time. So if you look and you're taking like English 1301, that's a 3-hour course, 3-semester hour college course. And that means that it should be 3 times 37.5 hours. It's approximately the amount of time a student can expect to generally spend learning in that course. So if you're a credit hour school, you do not have to convert it back to clocked hours for students on their transcript. It can be given to them as a credit hour. So how does a credit hour school report field trips and distance learning? So you're not going to see those columns in Shears, hopefully. You're not going to see those columns in Shears if you're a credit hour school. When you log in, you're going to see you're submitting credits. And so as you organize your modules, you need to allow for your field trips and allow for your distance education hours. And that should be included in the successful completion of a module or a course. So a credit hour school is only going to report successful completion of the module or the course. They're not going to report field trip hours. They're not going to report distance learning. All of that is embedded into their credit hour. So what documentation are you required to have on file for module or course completions? So each student should have the module or course completion form indicating the credits successfully completed. And what should be on there? It should have the name, the permit number, the program type. So we're talking about barber, cosmetology, manicuring, what have you, the course or module and dates. So I recommend the date you started, the date you completed, and the number of credits. And then here it says optional, number of hours, which would include classroom hours, field trip hours, and approved distance education hours. That's what TDLR says. You can put it on your module completion form if you want to, but you don't have to have it there. And I never recommend providing more information than what is requested. You always want to keep it simple. Make sure you're meeting the requirements without providing more information than you want to answer questions on, okay? This is the big thing, your records retention. So a school must maintain and have available for the department or student inspection the following documents for a period of enrollment through 48 months after the student completes, withdraws, or is terminated. So you're talking about 4 full years. You need to have their daily record of attendance. And if a time clock's used, you need those documents. But otherwise, you need to have all of the relevant documents that account for a student's credit. And that's got to be kept for 4 years after they have finished one way or another. Okay, so this is what 83.72 says about how you're going to properly account for the hours granted to each student. So you're not supposed to engage in anything that's going to give them credit if it's not accrued in accordance with 83.72. To maintain, it says 48 hours. We see that. You need a daily record of attendance. Now, keep it simple. Keep it simple. If you're already taking attendance for your school in some way, that's good enough. You don't have to have all these crazy sign in, sign out sheets. That's not listed anywhere. It's not required. So if you're already taking attendance, that's good. You're going to set up through your course catalog what your district or what your school requires. You're going to follow your school policy, whether you're a private school, college, high school. They're going to require a certain percentage of attendance in order to earn credit for a course. So your requirement needs to match that. Most often we hear 90%. So if the student's supposed to be there 100 days, they've got to be there 90 days to meet the attendance requirement. And so you're going to keep that daily record of attendance. That doesn't have to be a part of your module completion form, but you've got to keep the record to show that you maintained that record of attendance. I like to make it easy. When I get ready to do modules, I would print an attendance sheet on each student showing that they had met that, put it somewhere and lock it away. Or you don't even have to print it. If it's digital, just maintain a digital copy in case you need it, in case it's requested. I've lined through all of these things here because it doesn't pertain to credit hour. But when we go down to letter M, it says at the end of the course or module, if they drop or withdraw, you've got to submit the record of student hours in the manner prescribed by the department, which is logging into Shears, right? If you're changing from clock to credit hours, you've got to submit a form requesting that. And again, it goes through this equivalency of 37.5 hours. So all that to say, how do you organize this and how do you figure it out? Well, we've got lots of examples of credit hour module completion forms, and people ask us for them all the time. We're happy to share them. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's all about what is your schedule like? And so I've been trying to figure out a way to help people kind of figure that out. So I'm going to share a different screen with you now. 1 second here. And I'm going to share this other window. Hopefully I can get the right one up here. I think I can. Okay, so just like what, that you've got the copy of the slideshow, if you click that link in the slideshow, or Shelby, you can find it in the notes if you want to paste it over there to them. It's going to say, do you want to make a copy of this? Don't be afraid of it. It's not a virus or anything, but go ahead and make a copy of it. It'll copy it over into your drive. Mine's spinning. There we go. Okay, so that's what it looks like when it opens up. Now we're going to ignore this first page for right now. All this would be a place for you to list out your students at the beginning of the year. And this just makes your life easier. And I'll show you why in a minute. And I did a recording for you so you can kind of follow it step by step. But what we're going to do is we're going to go over to this calculator area here. And it's got some things that are already filled in here for you, but I'm going to take those things out so you can kind of see how this works. There's going to be some areas that it's not going to let you edit because this has got formulas built into it. So, you know, what I want to know is if you look through here, the examples, right? How many hours a day is a student expected to be in your class? So I'm going to play around and think we're setting up a module for a cosmetology 2 student. And for this, this is going to be their first semester of their senior year. Okay, we're talking about a high school student, first semester of the senior year. And so they're probably going to be in there for 3 credits. So let's say on average, they're there 3 hours a day and they're going to be there 5 days a week. Okay. Now, are they required to do a salon night, after school lab? So this, we're still talking about weekly here. So are they required to do any type of lab on a weekly basis? If so, how many hours is that? We're going to say, okay, that's 3 hours. Okay. So that's going to give us our weekly subtotal here. Now, how many weeks are we going to have in this module? If it's the first semester for a cosmetology 2 student, let's just say we're going to do the entire semester. So we're going to just say that's an average of 12 weeks. So that's what you're going to put in here. How many weeks do you intend for there to be in that module? We're going to put 12 weeks. So that's going to tell us, okay, we're at 216 clocked hours here. This would be your subtotal for your module hours, right? Are they going to take any field trips? So for the first semester, you might be doing fall leadership, or, you know, what are you going to put in here that you're going to require students to participate in? Because this is something that all students are going to earn, right? So this can't be something that's a, do you want to go? Do you not want to go? If you're going to do that, then it probably doesn't belong in your module, right? But on average, are all students going to be expected to go? So let's just say for fall leadership, I usually gave them about 6 hours, okay? Distance learning, are you going to require them to do any distance learning over the course of the semester? So let's say we're going to require them to do 15 hours over the entire semester, okay? So now we're at 237 hours, and that's going to tell us it's 6.32 credit hours for this module. So that would be your calculation of how to do it. And then over here, you can put whatever you want. You could put the picture of the school calendar here so you can count the weeks, or whatever you want to put over here. But this is how you calculate that. And so it needs to align with your school calendar, and it needs to be probably done every year that rolls over with if you're talking about a new cohort of students at a private school, or if you're talking about a new semester at a community college or a new semester at a high school. This is just a simple way for you to be able to calculate that, to see where you're coming up short, because, you know, we are seeing a trend, especially with our high schools, with this 4-year program of study, where even over the course of 4 years, they're not building in enough time for a student to complete 1,000 hours over 4 years, which is crazy. You know, they're just setting the students up for failure in that case. And so nothing else, this would be a way that you could kind of sit down with your administrators and you could say, okay, this is what I'm getting here. I can't put days in where we don't have them. I'm already requiring that the students are here 3 hours after school or 4 hours every week for them just to get the minimum. So this is a good way to calculate it. And then what you can do is you can specify this out. If you look down here, I'm kind of putting some instructions in here for you as you use this calculator. If you want to break this down further into the different, that should say content. I'm going to correct that. It won't correct it on yours, but I'll go back and correct it. Content areas such as the 700 hours of core curriculum or the 300 specialty hours, you certainly can. And at some point, you do need to know where that is falling, and that would be in your bigger picture, right? In your bigger picture, but you don't have to have all of that on your module completion form. Your module completion form can be very basic, and this is really just a way for you to calculate it. Now I'll have Shelby pull up kind of her breakdown of how she calculates it out for schools when we do consulting with them, and she can show you kind of where that would go. If you were at the summer conference that we had in July, you know, when TDLR was there, they said when Shears opens back up, you're going to have to put the hours, credit or clock, into this 700-hour bucket or this 300-hour bucket, which I think is just crazy. But, you know, if that happens, it happens. And at that point, you're going to have to figure out some way to figure out what goes where. I can tell you what I would do. First 700 hours would go with 700 hours, and the last 300 would go in the other bucket. But you know, they didn't seem like they were crazy about that. They felt like it probably wasn't accurate. So yeah, who knows? I don't know. Anyway, okay, I'm going to open this up for you. Also, there's a link for this down on the bottom of the page. And it'll also force you to make a copy. Shelby, let me know if they're not seeing the copy of this module completion form. You guys will have all of that. And so then I'm going to show you, and I have a video for this because we don't have time for me to walk everybody through it and make sure everybody can do it. What I can tell you is that it's easy. And if you follow the instructions and use the video I did earlier, you're going to be able to do this. Okay. So here's our module calculator here. So we are seeing that they get 6.32 credit hours. That's what we're going to put in here. We're going to pretend like these kids count, like these are our real kids. Okay, and we're going to put, just like this says, first name, last name. You're going to put your TDLR permit number, or they pause or barbering, when the module began, when it ended, credit hours. This was their grade. Okay, and then here we've got the school name. You can fill out this whole spreadsheet at the beginning of the year for everything except module began, module ended, credit hours, and the grade. And then you can copy this over every time a module ends. So you'll already have the student information in here. Okay. Then we've got this form here that's got these tagged in. These are kind of like a, what do you call it? Trying to think of what they call that email thing, but I can't remember now. Anyway, I use a program called Autocrat, which is an extension for Google Sheets. And that there are probably other things. If you go up here to extensions, when you're in Google Sheets, you can see there's add-ons here. You can click get add-ons, and what you're looking for is Autocrat. And so you just want to add that add-on inside of your Google Sheets. And then we're going to launch that. I'm going to show you how to set this up. It's so simple, and it will make filling out your module completion forms much easier. I do have a rule on credit hour schools. If you are credit hour, never, ever, ever, even when you know that all 50 kids have passed the semester, everybody's getting 313 hours or whatever it is, they're getting 6.75 credit hours, no matter, you know it, it's time to submit their hours, you haven't had time to do this yet. Do not ever submit credit hours until you've had time to run these module forms, because as soon as you do it, TDLR will come in the next day to inspect, and you don't have paperwork to back up what you have submitted. So just make sure you always allow time to do this. Even if you can't get it filed or put in your notebook, run these module forms before you submit the hours, because it'll catch you every time. So we're going to name this module 1, and then we're going to click next. And we're going to find our credit hour module template. So this is it right here, and it's already selected. But if I wanted to click here, I could open it up and see it, right? That down. Okay, then we're going to click next. What it's going to ask us is, how do these map? So we're doing TDLR permit number to permit number, last name to student last name, so on, so on. You want to make sure everything's mapped here. You're going to click next. You're going to name it something. I'm naming it module 1 example. So this, you can do a lot of fun things with this. You know, if you've ever been to conferences, we send your certificates like this. So I could change this to be a PDF and send it in multiple output mode, which means that after it runs these, it would email it to each individual person. But for module completion sheets, we don't need all that. We don't need all that. We just need it in one big thing so we can click print and it'll print all of them. Now, it is important that you've got these guys in alphabetical order because it's going to print them in the order they are on this spreadsheet. So if you don't want to have to go back and re-alphabetize them, like these two would technically be out of order, but that's an important thing to know, okay? We're going to leave it in single output mode. We're going to click next, and then this is the folder where they're going to go, and we're going to click next. This stuff we can kind of skip over, and we're going to save it. Once we've saved it, it's thinking, okay, it pops up like this. And so to run it, you just want to press the play button. And it's running our job. It's going to tell us how many, basically how many lines it's going to merge. And so it's doing 50 lines because I've got 1 through 50 over here, but it won't actually fill all of those. So what does that look like then? So if we go over on our Google Sheets, you're going to see now that it's run these in a document. And when we click it and open it, it doesn't like it because I'm sharing my screen. There we go. You're going to see that it's filled in all this information for us automatically, is what I say. And so you would just print this entire file and you would sign it, put the date that you're submitting it in Shears, and you're done. Okay. So this section right here, I think, is really important. And so I'm going to touch on this with the credit hour, and then we'll kind of let Shelby show you a couple of more examples of modules. So if a student doesn't meet the standard for the module, which would be whatever standard you've established, normally you want it to align with your school, which that's important because for colleges, depending on what their catalog says, a D passes. So it may be with cosmetology that they don't issue credit for a D. That's going to be dependent upon the college. But if a college is going to give credit for a D, when you move that D to the high school, that D doesn't give them high school credit. So you've got to address that kind of on the back end, right? But if they've met the standard, you would check this, sign it, they get the hours. What happens if they didn't? What if they didn't pass the test? What if they didn't pass the semester? Well, with colleges, what they do is they have to drop the course and re-enroll it and kind of pay for it over again. With our high school programs, that's a little more challenging, right? And so if they failed 6 weeks out of a semester on their report card, can average it together, and then they pass the semester with 3 6 weeks combined. If not, whatever you need to do, you don't need to just move them into the next module. Okay, this is module 1. Kid didn't meet on this. We're not going to just move them into module 2 and then this module just fades away and they never get these hours because they failed it. You have to remediate the student. And so if they've failed, go ahead and run their sheet. Don't check this box. Don't submit the hours and develop a remediation plan for that student. And obviously it needs to be something. We heard a lot of good ideas at the conference. Someone said have them take 100 question test to make up hours. You could also use that on a remediation plan. Whatever it is you need to do, if they miss too much time and they've got to come in and make up hours for you, however you want to do it. But you've got to remediate this module so that they eventually earn these credits. And I'm talking about with your high school programs, not college, but with your high school programs, because you've got to somehow balance out meeting policy for all of these different types of institutions, right? Okay, so that's that. Now let's see here. Okay, stop sharing there. Now I'm going to open up the floor for a minute and let Shelby get her slides ready and see if y'all have any questions about that. And then before she shows those slides, I'm going to talk to you for just a minute about our expo that's coming up because I have to go to the football stadium in a minute, but I want to make sure I get to walk you through that. Are there any questions about what we talked about so far or anything in specific that we could help you with on that? Or did that help at all in the questions that y'all have had about credit hour? You can come off your mic. She should be able to. Rosalind, let's see, where are you? There you are. Hey. Yeah, I got you.
Hi there. I was wondering,
Hey,
could you
dear.
send this like the slides to us?
Yes, I can because you had. That's why I made everybody register for this so that I can get your email address and I'll send everybody everything out of here. Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure. What's up, Lindy?
Okay, I have a question. So, I just got approved for credit last year, and after seeing
Mhm.
this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm probably doing this all wrong. But so my question is, if I build those distance learning into those modules, do I have to be approved for distance learning?
Yes, but it's all on one application now. It's all on that one
Okay.
sheeter. They've got this one sheeter application now. So you literally at the bottom of the application put how many hours of distance learning you're going to do, and you just add it on there. That's all
So
there is to it.
yeah, and last year when I was doing it, well, Rebecca said I shouldn't have to but she's not there anymore. But
Yeah.
she sent that and said you shouldn't have to do that. You can build it into your module. And I was like, okay, so I need to apply for distance learning then.
Well, I mean, you need to, have you received those little colored certificates saying that your curriculum has been approved and all that?
Yes, I have
Yeah.
that one.
And it should
But
say on there, like it was somebody tell me, because I don't know, I haven't received one of those, I don't own a school.
yes,
So does it
I do
say
have
on your
it.
certificates if you have distance learning approval on the certificate, or does
I
it just
don't think it
say,
says that on there.
does anybody
So
have one that does? Shelby, do you know if it says that when they come out?
I don't believe that it does.
Okay. Okay. So all I know is that, to be honest with you, Lindy, if I'm guessing, I'm going to guess they're probably not going to notice the difference. But
okay,
I mean, if you want to do it correctly, all you got to do is submit that little thing, that one sheeter,
okay,
and just update it. And I kind of like it in some ways because I feel like your modules are going to change every year depending on your
Mhm.
calendar, right? And so,
Yes.
that kind of thing. So I don't know. It's all up in the air.
Oh yeah,
Jana,
mine's.
you have a question? Oh, sorry, Lindy, were you not done?
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Jana Napper, can you unmute? Or is it in chat? Let me look here. Oh, there is stuff in chat. Look tomorrow, but I think we have an email posted
Okay,
saying
I'm
we have
sorry.
distance learning approved. Yeah, that's okay.
Can
That's okay.
can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
And
I'm looking in
and
the Q&A
and I may have
also.
already asking the same question. Will you send a copy of the sheet you were showing us
Yes, yes,
to
I
our
will. I will
email?
send that
And
to
maybe
you.
even a copy of this recording.
Yes, I will. I'll send you a link to the recording, and I'll send you the slides. I've been sending the slideshow and then the recording, and then the slideshow's got links to those documents in there too. So yeah,
Okay. Thank
I'll be happy
you.
to. No problem. Lindy, did you have another question? Let me answer one
Sorry,
over
I
here real
don't.
quick.
I just didn't know how to
That's
get my
okay.
hand
That's
down.
okay. Okay, so let me show you real quick then the expo, and then I'll turn it over and let Shelby show you a couple more examples of the module completion form. I don't think she'd even knew I worked on that calculator today. So anyway, that was a brainstorm. That was one of those things I was just like, oh, I'm going to do this. And it worked. So I was excited. Okay, share window. All right, make this bigger now real quick for a sec. Hopefully I don't close it by accident. Okay, so here we are on the new web page, and I'll let we can send that out in chat, Shelby, if you don't mind. But it's even if you go to texascosmetology.org, you're going to see a link for the new web page on that. So that's fine if you've got that one bookmarked. But this is the new one, and I'm still moving things over there. But I wanted to show you where to find this information about the expo. So you can either click the big button or click the link at the top. And here you're going to see where we have, this is the registration page, but I wanted to show you also, if you drop down here to the competitions, here's where you're going to find the different competition guides. So this has probably more information than you ever want to know about these competitions, because I wanted it to spell everything out for you and give a rubric so that you know exactly how judges are going to judge these. These are all going to be very quick. They all require a little bit of pre-work before you come in. And they're all just designed to take about an hour of hands-on competition when the student is actually at the expo. Each one of these is going to have some piece of universal competencies in it, except for really the multicultural showcase is the only one that doesn't have all three. So there's 3 things here in universal competencies that's going to be included in these other 5 competitions. And then the other 7 areas that they'll be scored in are unique to that competition. So it's pretty self-explanatory. If you click on them, it's going to open up for you and you can scroll through here and read. So it's going to tell you who's on the team, 2 stylists, a model. They're going to have an hour to complete the wedding day look, but they are going to have pre-work done before they arrive with the model, okay? These are the supplies that they need. We're going to have a workstation, a chair, and a mirror. They will have a plug. They cannot bring additional plugs or extension cords. So you'll just read through all of this. This is going to give you the schedule for the contest, tell you exactly how it's going to work. It tries to spell out some ideas for students. And then you will get into the rubric. So this is what the judge will, how they will score on the rubric. It's a click thing where they click these little things, but this is how it's broken down. So when they're scoring creative concept, this is exactly what they'll be looking for. So a 10 would be exceptional mastery of techniques, flawless application, perfect color, harmony, enhances the overall look. Down to number 1, where there's no skill demonstrated, the colors were inappropriate and it just didn't have a good overall effect. So you'll see that rubric in each area, and that's exactly how they're going to score it, okay? So that's one piece. And then let me show you the most important thing. When I was telling Shelby about this, she was like, oh no, like, I don't know if that's gonna work, but I think it will work because I didn't want you to have to do a lot of things about, okay, this kid failed, now they can't come. Like I didn't want you to have to deal with a lot of those types of things. So if you click over into registration, you're going to see, whoops, hold on. Wrong way there. There we go. Okay, so if you click register now on here, what you're going to be doing is every ticket's the same price. So if a student's competing or if a student's a model or if a student is just coming to attend, they're all $50 tickets. So if you're going to have a wedding day team, that's going to be $150 because it's 3 students, right? 2 competitors, 1 model. Same thing with the theatrical contest. Those are our 2 team events. Everything else will be a $50 ticket. And we're not going to collect names of these students until they enter into the competition area. So you're essentially buying a ticket like you would buy a movie ticket, okay? We only have so many tickets for men's cut. We only have so many tickets for women's cut, so many tickets for competitive nail art. So if you buy a ticket and the kid can't come, you can stick another kid in their place or another student in their place, or you could reach out to another school that maybe wanted a ticket and you could sell it over to that school, okay? Educator entry, everybody is the same price. So you'll just click select tickets, collect your tickets, select the ones that you want off of here, and then you will enter the instructor's information, the school information, and when you get ready to pay, hold on, I think I can show you one. It's going to ask you here for basic information, your first name, last name, email, phone number, TDOR, name of your school, basically, the school billing address, email address for the billing office, and we want you to give us a total here of the educator and student tickets. Then when you click continue, I don't think it's going to let me do it without filling all that out. I'm not going to do it, but just trust me when I tell you, when you get to payment, it will allow you to enter an offline payment if you're going to pay with a purchase order. So you can do that. We will email the invoice, and then when the purchase order is ready, you would send that in to us. As long as we have those POs before the day of the event, we are good to go on all of that. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing now. Any questions on any of that? Jenny, you've got your hand up again, or is that the same hand? It's perfectly okay if you do. All right, great. All right, Shelby, you want to share?
Sure.
Okay.
Let me share my screen here.
All right. And I will collect, I will download all of the attendees, and we capture that through the registration, and I will email out all of these goodies to all of you tomorrow. And even if you register, anytime we do this, register, even if you aren't sure if you can attend, because you'll get the recording. Okay. All right.
Perfect. So you should be able to see on my screen an example of a breakdown of credit hour modules and the calculator that she shared. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. The calculator that she shared is awesome and would most definitely help you fill something like this out. And this is not a required, form, or your modules don't have to look like this. This was just the easiest way for me to be able to help a teacher create their modules with their year at a glance or their scope and sequence and break down their hours based on what they're teaching in the classroom at that time. And so these sections that you'll see here are taken straight from the TDLR rule book, and so the descriptions and the sections of hours here are from there. And so basically you would just kind of use that calculator that she shared and break down, how many seat time, how much hours they'll have in the seat, field trips, distance learning, anything like that, and then whatever content you'll be teaching within that module, and break down your hours that way for your class. And so you'll see that it's the same sections here for the most part until we get to Cosmo 2, and then that's when that specialty practice and related theory, actually I think this one, that's when that was coming up here for that group to include those hours. And so this is just a form to help. What I used to do is I would print these out and put them in a binder just so that if they wanted to see the modules, which most of the time they're just looking for the module completion forms, but just so that I could reference back to this if needed. And so this is one form that I used to use to kind of jot down how we calculated hours. And just same thing for Barber. So for Barber, of course, most of the modules for this example would be the same, except for those specialty hours, of course, now that they would need. And then some other examples for manicuring, but same thing broken down based on what's in the rule book there. Is there something else you were wanting me to show? Or is that what you were looking for? Okay. Perfect. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, we thank all of you for joining us tonight. If there's anything that we can do, please just shoot us an email when we send out the slideshow from tonight. Of course, you'll have our emails that way. And you can be looking for that probably midday tomorrow. And if you have any questions, just send us an email and we'll get back to you. Yes, I will send a copy of that also. What do we use as a proof of a student drop date? Usually what I use for proof of a student drop date is I usually would, have record of what I submitted in Shears plus like their last attendance sheet that you were using for your module. So rather that be what you're printing from your student information system, if you're in a public school like Skyward, or if you're post-secondary, whatever you're using to track attendance, whether it be a check-in system or a time clock, and document the last day that they were there. That's what I would use. Perfect. For sure. All right. It's good seeing everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.